By the way,
Hold on, Owen. Hopefully we're
after
back
yesterday's
live.
hangout,
Oh,
I got like 2 comments from flat earthers responding elaborately.
literally told you in advance that we were going to get at about a 10-second countdown. As soon as that comes in, so I can say hello to the live audience, you talk.
Yes.
Oh well.
No, I'm
Welcome
just
back.
one click
Hopefully we're...
behind the screen.
Bear with me, Alwyn. I just need to reintroduce the show. So hopefully we're
Yes.
still live.
Yes.
Hopefully
It
we're
seems
still
to be
live.
going.
You do it for me, Alwyn. Don't worry about it. How you doing, John? Can you hear us? Hello, John. Can you hear us? Maybe just joined to snipe. So with a bit of luck, we're still on the air on the same show.
It's still going. The same YouTube is still going.
Oh, brilliant. Excellent. So I don't have to piddle around.
Yeah, you got lucky there. It was a serious internet crash that just happened.
Yeah, just lost my Wi-Fi. No, I think it started streaming 1 minute ago, according to this, so damn it. Thank you for ruining my intro.
I was afraid your account was, like, cut off or something.
Right, let's just pop you on mute for a second, Darwin, because I do actually need to do a re-intro. So, welcome back to Flat Earth Debate. If you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it is live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching and click the link in the info box to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number 1, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. So as I say, this is technically a part B show. Hopefully the full recording won't be interrupted and we'll have a full recording of this broadcast. But in the meantime, please share the show. Obviously this is a new stream, so please share it, as it does increase the live audience, which in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the panel, if you're new to the show or this channel, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. With that, I'll pass back to Arwin and Sleeping Warrior, who have rejoined us from the part A of this show. How you doing, Sleeping Warrior? Are you still here?
Yeah, I'm all right. I love how Arwin now, because he's had he had that little hissy fit the other day. He now demands the mic all the time.
Good, he should, because otherwise you'll verbal diarrhea all over him and he'll never get a word in. So it's good that he.
No. Etiquette works both ways. Sometimes he has to shut up as well, you know.
I love Arwin. I think he's great. Just want to back that up, Arwin. You're ace, mate, in my book.
It's just that when I make an entirely new point, it just seems like it's just wrong to then immediately roll over it with the same rolling the ball back up the hill. Like, there's a time, I understand you want to keep on doing that, and it has its function, which was very well explained. But when I bring up a new point and you immediately roll over it with rolling the ball back up the hill, that seems kind of rude, really.
I wasn't rolling the ball back up the hill.
Yeah,
this was
you
a new
were.
ball.
Yeah, you were. You were responding to a troll in chat concerning the stuff that you're talking about for months now. It would have been nice if you would actually listen to what I had to say and then respond to that instead of completely
it works two ways. So you've also got to listen to me, because I wasn't actually re-rolling the ball up the hill. I was asking a new point on a whole new topic that no flat earther or ball earther has ever mentioned to us before. It was a totally new ball up a new hill, and it was aimed at Sly, who knows the Earth is flat.
Right. Well, anyway, if I bring up a new point and I take my time to explain it, to bring up something interesting, it would be nice if you'd actually respond to that. Like, you know, just as a courtesy, maybe.
Sure. And as I said, I wasn't listening to it because I was lining up a response to Sly, which I thought was a very good question that needs to be addressed by a baller because it's new science. Now, I apologise that I didn't answer your question. However, Nathan did. So you did get an answer, and I gave way. Patiently. Did. So it works two ways, though. When Nathan's trying to reintroduce his show, shh.
Yeah, sorry, that was just bad timing on my part.
It's all right, don't worry. I'm chuckling away.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, continue on. I think I made my point pretty clear about just it would be very interesting working more on how refraction works, getting that cleared up to basically counter the entire illusion of that there's a curvature, so-called, and how the ballers are mechanizing and frauding optical science. I think that will be very interesting to start hammering that down on a regular basis. And
Well, that
that's
was
just
the
my
actual
opinion. And continue.
that was the actual question I was asking Sly. I was asking Sly to explain what we're seeing on the horizon, because from our perspective, we call it refraction. They call refraction the bending of light around the curvature of the Earth. We see refraction as something optical that's on the horizon that seems to be relative to the angle of observation. And as you get nearer to the horizontal, that angle changes, and it makes us see some kind of mirroring or reflection or whatever. And that's the exact point I was asking Sly.
All right.
Which proves that you were more focusing on me not answering your question than listening to what I said in response to, or aimed at Sly about the exact point you just made.
Come on.
Anyway,
What's this pissing competition all about?
he's just being a bitch. That's all.
Me? Am I?
No, you
Yeah, you
completely ignored Darwin. I've got to side with Darwin on this because he made a good point, and I was waiting to answer him. Then you completely ignored it.
I know, and I've apologised, and I gave way, and I let him speak. But then the question that he then asked was, we should spend more time addressing refraction, which was the exact thing I was doing.
Yeah, basically, you're all keen to get your own points in and not really listening to each other, which is fair enough.
No, I'm listening to Riley, and
you're bored of it.
I'm listening right now because I made my point. That is over, and now I'm actually interested in what he was talking about. I'd love to get into this more, and I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, somebody else.
Well, do you know what? Do you know what actually happened when I gave way to you, Arwin? Because I gave way to you, right, on the point of refraction that we're now talking about, Sly has since finished his dinner break. He's gone back to his job, and now we don't have the ability for him to respond.
Oh.
So
we'll get a chance. I'm sure Sly will be around tomorrow.
Yeah.
To play.
So just make sure that the ballers are aware and keep telling Sly that he's got 2 questions outstanding from the first 10-15 minutes of the show dealing with that refraction band that we're talking about right now, that we want to know what the science is for it, because it isn't addressed by current science. There is no current physics to explain the phenomena that we see at the horizon, which is this mirroring thing, which I know they can call it mirage, but the boat's not dropping behind no curve. That's the problem. Well, the boat is stretching.
I have to say that I'm not too sure if there really is no science for this. I think there probably is a very well worked out optical science that is just not really put out in schooling and such. But it must be there, because how else could you perfect optical science? How else could you perfect lensing, all that lasers, if you don't have these details of the real world? Would make any sense if it didn't exist.
Hold on, we've got a new guest. Can I just say hello to the new guest? How you doing, new guest?
Hello.
Hello, good to have you here. What's your name? Chocolate something? What can we do for you?
Chocolate saying.
Chocolate what?
Saying.
Okay.
Chocolate saying, apparently.
Fair enough.
Is the Earth a ball or is it flat, sir?
I would be a flat earther, sir.
Right.
Cool.
Cool.
How long have you been a flat earther for?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I want to say maybe about a year.
Yeah, you'll have to forgive our like initial suspicion or skepticism or abruptness, but we get a lot of people that pretend to be people that they're not. Generally on the ball side, generally trying to disrupt or just generally be an idiot. So it's a little bit. We've got to try and work out who's like normal as a human and who's like a subhuman.
That's fine. That's fine. I understand. I've been listening to you guys for a while, so I kind of understand what goes on here. So I get it.
Right.
Cool.
Well, welcome to the panel.
Just make sure you don't interrupt Darwin. I'm sorry, Arwin.
It's really getting old, Riley. Stop doing it. No, it's really getting old. You may
Arwin
think
doesn't
it's
do
funny.
the laddie,
really getting old.
The laddie sort of, when you were at school and you pushed each other on the shoulder. I wasn't one of those guys either.
Yeah, it's banter. I see it as banter. I don't mean it with malice.
I know you don't see it. I know you don't
Yeah,
mean
but
it
it's
with
getting
malice,
old.
but
Just saying.
I can see how it would irritate Arwin as opposed to him just going, "Yeah, you stupid wanker."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
So
like that. So
tell us about your journey then. How did you realise? What was the thing for you that flicked it round so you thought, hey, maybe we're not on a ball after all?
Who, me?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, chocolate. Sorry.
Um, well, honestly, since I was a kid, the whole globe thing never really made sense. To tell you the honest
Yep.
truth. I mean, growing up, teachers are telling me water's hanging on the underside of a ball, and people are walking around, planes are flying around upside down. It was just weird to me.
so
Yeah, I
you
agree.
didn't
I mean, I
believe in
was.
gravity when they told that?
It was a nice story, and I guess I took it after a while. You know, teachers are telling you this every day, putting it into your head. So eventually, you're like, okay, um, they know what they're talking about. I'm a
Hmm.
kid, so
Ah,
whatever,
yeah. No,
you
they
know.
really the scientism eventually panned out for them, I guess.
Yeah.
It usually does. They
But
just keep on overwhelming you with complexities and data, and yeah, they know better. They got all the formulas, and eventually, especially as a kid, it just overwhelms you, and you just say, "Okay, you know better." I guess
yeah, because
happens
most
to
kids are like,
everyone.
yeah, most kids are just like, oh, the teachers know better. So obviously, somebody's done the science, somebody's done the research. The guys on TV are all behind this, so you know. But it never really made sense to me. It was always just something's off about it, you know.
And of course, when you think
Always that
about it, when
feeling.
one of the first questions a 5, 6, 7-year-old asks when told that we live on a ball is they always say, "So how does water stick to it then?" And then the answer is obviously gravity. And then they have to explain gravity
Yeah,
to a 6-year-old, which we all accept because it's true. You know, it's science from a primary school perspective. We all just accept it for 20 years. Because whilst you're going through the indoctrination system of education, it's never even questioned flat Earth. They don't have a section in school saying some people think the Earth's flat. This is the evidence for it. It's just not even. It's just it's lying by omission. They're not telling you that there is another perspective. Now, whether the Earth's flat or
yeah,
not is the moot point. But at the age of 6, if you're told that we live in a ball and gravity holds the waters of the oceans onto the shape of the Earth, but it lets butterflies fly around it, then you're going to believe it because little Miss Johnson or whatever your teacher was called, she's lovely and you love her, and she's not going to lie to you. So why would you challenge or question it? But the reality is, if you're told
exactly.
at the age of 6 that we live in a ball and there's something called gravity for 20 years while you go through the education system, you don't realize that it's not. It's a long time not to
Nope,
challenge something.
nope.
Well, with me, what really got to me, what kept on sowing the doubt when I was young, is basically how the moon works. What you actually get to see from the moon. And people always got really irritated when I started to ask questions about it, like why would you see the daylight through the dark side of the moon? And why would you sometimes at night, especially when it's when the light side is really sharp, why would you see like this dark disk there, but not during the daylight? That type of thing. The moon always really confused me. Like it doesn't make any sense that the same side would always face you, but
Same
yet
here.
it would grow dark like it does in that sense. It just never really made any sense to me. It felt really, really off, and I never got that feeling away ever.
Yeah,
They
I
basically
completely agree with
intimidated
that.
me into stop talking about it.
And I was one of those kids that loved staring at the sky. Like
Hmm.
the
Me too.
moon, the stars. I would sit outside for hours just staring at the sky. Never really had a telescope or anything like that, but the sky always fascinated me. It was always insane to me how everything works. But
Well, I was dreaming about
the part of
space.
me that loves science was like, wait a minute, like how is it that we're moving in all these different directions all the time? We're never, even in 1 second, we're never in, supposedly never in the same spot in the galaxy, but yet all the stars are right there. Every year they reset completely to the same spot. Polaris never moves. Like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you know what
And
I actually, sorry.
water does not curve. Like somebody please find me a picture of water that curves, and I'll be a Glober again. But until then, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well,
Ridiculous.
I can break your bubble a little bit in that sense, and that is that during the tides, the seawater is actually drawn towards the land, and there is a slight curve. It's just not a consistent cumulative curve. So water
Oh,
does
it might
actually
be
curve during the
curving.
tides.
It might be curving,
Yeah,
but it's
exactly.
not a curve. It's not sitting there as a curve. I
No, it
understand
is. At
exactly
that
what you
time, it
mean.
is really. But it's not universal. It's not everywhere. It's just that part is slightly curved, and then it uncurves.
To avoid that
So
happening to you again, Chocolate, just use the word at rest in the sentence. The words at rest. So, water at rest.
yeah, exactly. Now water at rest does not curve.
Okay, yeah, I get you. I
Yeah,
got you.
but
But
the
yeah,
weird
I still haven't seen it.
the weird thing, what is something that really hanged in with me for a long time, like up until like I was 14 or something, is I was always dreaming about outer space. I really was a big believer. I explain this every time. Like if I balled up my fist, I would just see the Earth ball and space around it, and I was such a. It was so ingrained in my mind that that was real, but I never really believed. I thought science was wrong, that the galaxy was spinning around, because I just thought, look, only the Earth is spinning, because all the stars are always in exactly the same place, and like all the records say, like all these signs in the skies, they're always the same shape. So doesn't make any sense that the galaxy is spinning around. It's just the Earth that is spinning around in this still space vacuum where apparently other stars and balls are just hanging around standing still. That is what I have had thought was the reality for a very, very long time. But science just always insisted, no, it's all moving around each other and it's always falling into this gravity thing. And it's like they messed it up. It's like they
Yeah,
completely messed up the theory and made it impossible to work. They broke the illusion, as it were. It's so
yeah.
weird how that works.
By not really defining gravity. I mean, gravity is strong enough
Not,
to hold water, millions of tons of water to the bottom, to the pull it to the center of the earth. But butterflies and
how
birds can
about
just
the
fly
air? How
around,
about
and
the air?
air
The air sticking to the
the air
ball
next
because
to a
of gravity, a
vacuum.
weak force, while the strong force of buoyancy
The
and
va-
air wanting to expand,
yeah, it doesn't make
versus
sense.
the infinite universe of vacuum space out there. So an infinite vacuum compared to gravity holding just one layer of air perfectly still on that ball. That is, yeah, that eventually really broke the illusion for me once I figured out the mechanics of vacuum, how that could never ever work unless there was
Yeah,
like a physical dome keeping it all in. But yeah, then every world that would have air would have been forced to be designed with a dome around it, or it could never have life. And then, yeah, how would life come into existence if a dome would have been designed just for life to arrive? So that makes it even more complex as you
yeah.
keep on reasoning.
What kills me is how these ballers, and I hate to call them that because I mean that's what I used to be too, but some of them are so smart. I don't understand how they can see these things and not work it out themselves in their brain.
Well,
Like it doesn't make any sense to me. I know there's
it's a
the
different type of
indoctrination,
smartness.
but I
It's,
don't know. It's like how do they not see this though? Like
well, because they
the,
choose not to. It is a different type of smartness. It is a smartness of figuring out patterns, but they don't figure out that just because they can see the patterns, they can see the fractal in how it works, that doesn't make it real. It is kind of a lack of wisdom where they don't understand that just because you can see it, it might not actually be real. Because see, if you understand something, they have fallen for the trick that if you can reason something out, that it must be real, basically. And it is a different type of, it's a calculative intelligence. It's like a computer intelligence, being quick to figure out the patterns, figuring out how something works, but they don't have the sensibility, it seems, to then figure out that even with all that intelligence, it still doesn't work. So it's just a different type of mind. And because somebody's fast, they can be really impressive, but doesn't make them more capable of actually figuring out reality. And that is the problem.
Can I just make a point?
It is culturally mistaken, basically, that being fast of mind actually makes you smarter.
No, you're right.
You go, Riley.
The stars, I agree with Arwin. The stars, when you look up at them and you watch them rotate in the night sky, you see that what we're told is that all of these stars are all at different distances away. Now, to me, the stars look flat. They look on the same plane. They don't look like there's 3 dimensions to them. It looks like it's a flat plane. That's how I see the stars. But if you map out the stars in terms of Sirius and Betelgeuse, you'll see that part of the Orion network, the Orion constellation, is Sirius and Betelgeuse are right next to each other, right? They're very, very close in the night sky. And there is no parallax between the two of them. However, Sirius is meant to be 8.6 light years away. In contrast, Betelgeuse is something like 642.5 light years away. If you apply the principles of parallax to the distance and the proximity of those two beings, or those two celestial bodies, relative to Earth, as we go round the sun, misspeak there, as we go round the sun, Betelgeuse and Sirius should parallax. They should significantly, because Betelgeuse is so much further away, according to science, than what Sirius is. There is no observable parallax, and what they say that's because is that they are that far away that they don't parallax. No, parallax works on distant objects as it does on close objects, and Sirius is very close to us. Betelgeuse is very far away from us. Relative to each other, if you scale them out, there is parallax there, and we see none. That tells you that the stars are on the same plane. They're as close to us as what we are to them. You can almost touch them. That's because they're close. They are not parallaxing. There is no parallax. No, there is. There's a couple of trillion, like little tiny. Yeah, they do measure a little tiny bit of microscopic, but that's atmospheric. We know that the atmosphere, as we look through it, distorts what we see, and that's what all we're seeing. The little tiny minuscule amount of parallax is because of the atmosphere. It's not to do with 642.5 light years away for Betelgeuse against Sirius being 8. It's nonsense.
Yep. Well, you're correct. And then there is the factor that if you go up high enough, the stars just disappear entirely. Even with that latest thing with the car in space, even there were no stars. It's just every time and time again. It's just there in plain sight. If you go up high enough, there's no stars. They're just not there. It's only a visual phenomena that can be seen from down Earth. So from
and
down
what's crazy is you can't really just blame that on NASA, because even amateur like weather balloon footage that goes up 120,000 feet, even in that you don't see stars.
Yeah, exactly. Everywhere.
The
it's
sun
always
is right there.
Once you go up high enough, the stars disappear from view. Somehow it might be atmosphere related, that there needs to be a certain level of atmosphere around for this optical phenomena of the stars to become visible. And then if you go up high enough, that the Earth thickness no longer is thick enough to carry this effect. It could be something like that.
Just addressing Geo in chat, he says, we measure parallax by comparing the stars in question to the background stars. Therefore, atmospheric effects are irrelevant. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to compare the stars in question to the background stars, Betelgeuse is 640 light years away, compared to Sirius, that is less than 10. So if you're going to compare the two together, Geostriba, there should be parallax, and it should be prominent because the one in front of us, Sirius, should be zooming across the sky over a year relative to Betelgeuse, and it doesn't do it. There is no movement between Betelgeuse and Sirius. That means there is no parallax between Betelgeuse and Sirius. Therefore, the distances between them are not what we're told. There is very little to none, and it's explained perfectly by the atmosphere that we live in. As we look through the atmosphere and the temperature gradients change over the period of the days, the weeks, the months, the years, that microscopic amount, which is refraction, it is minuscule, it is negligible, is going to cause a negligible change in the way the stars appear to us. And that is perfectly what you would expect to see if there was a little tiny microscopic thing that you guys call parallax between the things. But if you actually compare the star in question, so in this case Betelgeuse, to the background stars, Sirius. So compare Sirius in question to the background star being Betelgeuse. Where is the parallax? Why is there no parallax when there is a huge difference between the two distances between the two stars? And the answer is, of course, there is no parallax because the stars are all on the same plane. Unless there's evidence to prove otherwise, parallax should be there. Why is it not?
I'm going to do a quick link as I estimate that we have about half an hour left on this live stream. If you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. But most importantly, if you'd like to join the panel, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. As I say, there is approximately 30 minutes left on this live stream. If you've not done so already, please share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, which in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate.
Okay, I'm being asked to prove the star claim, and I'm going to do that, Nath, if you wouldn't mind sharing my screen, because it's something that the ballers simply refuse to. Are you done? It's something that the ballers simply refuse to address, because they can't do it. You can do this by something called ratios. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to pull up. Nath, let me know when you've done it. I'm going to pull up Betelgeuse, and then I'll minimize that down to the side.
Hey, Gary Johnson, can you say a quick hello?
Hello, Nathan.
Good to have you.
Good to have you here. Great. I want to tell you about how I became a flat earther. Can I tell that story?
I don't see why not.
Well, it was one day in October, and we had a storm. It was a really bad storm, very stormy. It was a storm. And my friend, who's a scientist, I asked him, where do storms come from? He said, they come in from the Pacific Ocean. I said, the Pacific Ocean? He said, yeah, Pacific Ocean. Now, my friend, he's a scientist. And he dresses like a scientist, looks like a scientist. He's a scientist. So I started wondering, well, you know, I'm not sure they do come in from the Pacific Ocean. So I started looking into the whole thing, and it turns out that they don't. And he was telling me about meteorology, and did you know that meteorology isn't the study of meteors? I didn't know that. Study of weather. Anyway, so I looked into the whole thing, and I couldn't find any curvature. I couldn't find out where storms came from. I discovered the Earth was flat. What'd you think of that?
A lovely story. Thank you.
Sounds like the story of some Father Christmas as well, doesn't it? Just like, you know.
Well, I just
really
want
nice
to tell you that's how it all began. It was one day in October, and just really stormy day.
It's cool.
Thank you. I thought that was an interesting story.
I agree. It's lovely. So, whereabouts are you joining us from?
Arizona.
Pardon?
Arizona.
Arizona. You don't sound like
That's
you're
right.
from Arizona.
Well, I'm not from there originally.
Where are you from originally?
I don't want to give too much information on the internet. You know, it's a lot of people there, a lot of nasty people. I'm sure you've encountered a few of them.
You're from Scotland originally?
Scotland originally? No, from Arizona.
Arizona. Okay.
Arizona.
Well, thank you.
That's right.
Thank you for your story. It was lovely.
Well, I just wanted to tell you.
Right. Okay. So let me get back on track. Sidetrack there.
Get back
Derailed
on track,
a little
Anthony.
bit. Now, Sirius is one of the closest stars to us. It's not the closest, but it's not far off us. But it sits in the night sky next to Betelgeuse, very, very close to it. And it's only, if you compare the two distances, 8.6 light years away. But Betelgeuse is 642 light years away. So if you do the maths on that, you can work out what kind of percentage distance there is between the two. But there is parallax there, and it would be blatantly obvious. But it's not just on these stars, it's on all the stars. The star field is a three-dimensional field, right? All the stars are all at different levels away from us. They're all different distances away from us. So there should be a continuous parallax issue on every single star relative to all the other stars in the background. GeoStrieber is quite right. However, we see none of it. None of the stars parallax with any of each other, and there should be, because the further away one gets relative to the close one, these two would have a really, really big, prominent amount of parallax. And guess what? There is none. So they've got to explain that, and it's because all the stars are trillions of years away.
That's the sound of Jazzaconda. How you doing, Jazz? Can you hear us? Hello?
Yeah, g'day.
Good day.
Oh.
Good to have you.
I'll just mute for a quick second.
No, it's okay. I'd like to ask you if you knew the reason why there wasn't any parallax between these distant celestial bodies. That's one significantly further than the other one.
Oh yeah, no, I'll just mute for a quick second. I'll just close some windows and I'll be back.
Okay. I'll wait. We have a half an hour left or whatever.
Maybe.
20 minutes.
I don't really know. The timers have all reset when the Wi-Fi crashed, so I don't really know how long we've got left, and I can't remember what time we started. It's one of those. I'll round it out when my wife gets home for lunch.
All right. Okay. Al K says, so I can't prove what? I can't prove what's that, Al? That you did or didn't know that Miles was telling lies when he put his video out at 40 feet and you knew it was only about 20 feet that he was above the water, but you let him do it anyway? Is that what you're asking me?
I really don't think he's a liar, Anthony. I don't think he's a liar.
You don't think who's a liar?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Miles is a liar. I just think it's flat, but I think you made a little error in judgment there. But I don't think he's a liar.
He's definitely lying.
I don't think you're lying. I don't think he's lying. I don't think he's a liar.
He went to the observation point, knew exactly how high sea level was, and irrespective went to
it's this metric thing. We got a metric system. You got the imperial, something like that. Or the other way around. I'm not sure.
Rather than tipping his camera down.
That's where it might be. I don't know. Maybe look into that.
Maybe rather than tipping his camera down 2 inches, he went to the Ordnance Survey map and did an extrapolation.
Maybe one's working in feet and the other's working in meters. I don't know. It's just a guess.
So I
don't know much about it.
Rather than tipping his camera down 2 inches to just show the sea in the footage, he went
what's 2 inches in the UK? I mean, that's like what? 5 centimeters or something?
So rather than tipping his camera down to take in the water, he chose to go to the Ordnance Survey map and do an extrapolation that was not in line with the tide level at the time. That's dishonest.
Well, if you mix up imperial and metric, I don't think it's dishonest.
You ignored my point
he
again.
mixed up imperial and metric, and that was the explanation for why he was like
that
20,
might be it.
20
I don't know.
feet
You should look into it. That's all I'm saying.
He claimed he was 40 feet, and it turns out that he was no more than 25. And you think that was down to an imperial to metric conversion, right?
It's a possibility. It's just a possibility. Just throwing out possibilities.
I agree it is a possibility, but what's the percentage possibility that it might be accurate in terms of what he's done there? Would you say it's
absolutely
likely?
No idea. Couldn't say.
No, I couldn't
What
say either.
about
It's
being
next-
there at high
next-
tide and then minusing off a certain amount off his actual height above sea level when he knew exactly what his height above sea level was because he could see it? Why would you go to a map and do an extrapolation when you can physically see it and you'd only
No
need
idea. You gotta ask him.
Yeah. I
Well, we
would,
have
Agent
asked him.
detective.
I would just assert that he's just a liar, having not tipped the camera down 2 inches.
It's a
and just-
distinct possibility.
Yeah, I agree.
Agent detective in chat says that
You could be lying.
while
He could be lying. Him could be lying. It could all be lies. Who knows? The whole globe thing's a lie.
Sorry, just a short remark. Agent
He's
detective.
lying. You're lying. We're all lying. Who knows?
Dude,
Agent detective says, Riley, that you're a Satanist because you just showed that picture with the two boxes over it, and then now you just have one eye, so you're a Satanist because of that. That was pretty funny.
Actually, it looks more like Delby on the imaginary curve. Like half of it's like seen and visible, and the other half of my face is in the darkness. Because sometimes when he has the lighting in at such a position, it looks like you can't see the other side of his face. You know, like the dark side of the moon. Sometimes when he has the lighting in such a position, you can't see the other side of his face.
I'm back now, real quick. Was it you talking to me, Riley, before?
Sure, just as Nathan's turned his screen off. Nathan, would you stick it back on for Jazz?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, Jazz. Didn't realise you were back, mate.
That's all good.
Jazz, according to the system, the science of the skies, the astronomy of the skies, Sirius is one of the closest stars to us at apparently 8.6 light years. However, in the same in the same part of the sky, you can find Betelgeuse, and that's distance to Earth is 642.
It's Betelgeuse. It's not Beetlejuice. It's Betelgeuse.
Is 642 light years from the Earth.
Beetlejuice. That's the film. It's Betelgeuse.
but
So
it's
my
actually
question is, do you know why there isn't any parallax relative to
Betelgeuse.
the distances? Why does parallax not seem to exist in space?
Well, this is just my understanding purely because of the distances.
That's what creates the parallax, though, right?
Well, that is, but you can be in a car in the passenger seat, and the person driving the car can be driving at 100 k's, but in the passenger seat you can look over to your right. I don't know what speed you're driving over there, or you're on the left. So you can look over, and it might look like the driver's doing 104 k's.
I was
So
really disappointed that they nominated you for that stupid award. What's the name of it? Something of the year? What's it called again?
Yeah,
Darwin.
shut up. We're trying to get an answer. You're interrupting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
So if we forget about the distances, forget about the unit at the minute, the unit of light years, we'll just disregard for the sake of the maths. If we do 8.6, divide that by 642.5, we get the value of 0.013. So that's basically 1% of the distance. The distance of Sirius to Betelgeuse is 1% of the distance. And there should be parallax there, and we don't see any of it.
No, we do. It is measurable, but it's very, very tiny, like that number that you've just come up with.
But something
It's
that's 1%
extremely
of the
tiny.
distance. You know how they say that the sun and the moon, when they get in close proximity to each other in the sky, and they talk about the eclipse, the distance to the moon is 250-ish thousand miles, but the sun is 93 million miles away. And that distance between the relative distance between the sun and the moon and relative to the Earth casts this umbra and penumbra thing, and it creates a shadow because of parallax. But that's the similar kind of thing. The sun is very, very far away, but the moon is very, very
Miles,
close.
how you doing? Can you hear us?
Hello, folks.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Can I very quickly, I only have a moment, can I very quickly just present my screen and address something that Nathan just said?
Yeah, you can. Just give us a second just to get to the end of this point.
The point that Nathan made was we should have put the camera down at the time we took the video in order.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm up for this.
I don't think it's going to allow this to play for some reason.
I'll stop sharing so that
I'll try and open it again and see if it will.
Thank you, Miles. You're presenting.
Okay, can you see the
Yes,
screen?
yes, we see you.
Can the audience see the screen as well?
Or is this your video or Alkay's video?
This is Alkay's video. This is the one that I presented. I took footage from this video. Okay?
Is this the one that you
Now, it's a
presented for the
relatively long-
turbines video in the actual
Guys, can you
video?
just shut up and listen for a second?
We're just trying to get
It's
clarity.
a
Is this the
relatively
video
long
that
video.
you're saying that this is... I just want to get it clear. Have you ever presented data from your camera?
This is the evidence that was presented in my video about wind turbines,
Was it your evidence
which
from your
you-
camera? That's what I'm asking.
which you keep on saying was no evidence of where the tide was at the time, and you have claimed that we should have shown.
What are you talking about? I haven't leveled anything at Alkay, and now you're playing an Alkay video. When you filmed...
No, Nathan, you leveled it directly at Alkay because that Alkay was where the video evidence came from.
Did you
and
take
if you
any
look at
evidence?
the end of the video
Why don't you
here,
answer my question?
you will see the camera pointed down.
Simple question,
and
Miles. Did you take any footage with your camera,
and
yes
the
or no?
height of the tide. Nathan,
Miles, I'm going to ask you it nice and slowly. Did you take any footage with your camera, yes or no?
yes, I have not presented that footage. The footage I've presented is the footage from Al, and that footage is what is in dispute. The tide height at the time, and as I have just shown you, the tide height was shown in that video at that time. That's
Right,
all
can
I
you
have to
show
say.
where in the
again?
video that you presented to us where the tide was
Goodbye.
shown? And if you're not sure, it's the one that's entitled Flat Earth, Earth-Shaped Tourist UK, St. Bees, Episode 1. It was for 1 hour and 11 minutes. In that video, can you show us where the tide was shown?
Just dropped, just presented his selective evidence, ignored all our questions, and then ran away.
I noticed something really interesting right there in the footage that he
Why have
showed.
you run away, Miles? Why have you run away?
Did he just run away? He ignored all your questions and ran away? That's...
He's got a couple of questions
You
about
sure
your
didn't get
footage.
sniped? He might have got sniped.
No.
Maybe a
Nobody's
sniper.
got-
Probably
nobody
a sniper.
sniped him.
Maybe a
No,
sniper.
he just left.
I think it was a sniper. It was always a sniper.
No, it wasn't a sniper. He said he would leave and he
Might have been a sniper.
left.
Check the
I
log.
didn't
Check the
even
log.
get what
Look at the
his
log.
point
Have a look at the
was.
log. Check the log. Might have been a sniper.
No, he said he would leave and then he left.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
All right, try and pay attention.
But I noticed something.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I
interesting.
get 1,000 thoughts a minute. You know.
Can I say something for a moment? I saw something really interesting again in that footage of those wind turbines he showed. It was pretty funny because when you looked at the bottom right over that slant zone of the sea, you saw the, I don't know, how do you say it? Like the three things, the wicks. How do you call that in English? Sorry.
Blades?
The blades, yes, the blades. As the blades approached the bottom, as they were turning, you saw that they were being reflected. They were stretched in another angle as they approached. So you saw like, well, a mirage in the refraction zone. It was reflected right there. It was really interesting.
Yeah, just to echo
Very
that
visual.
point briefly. Just to echo that point briefly, I'll show that these are the actual turbines that Miles is talking about, and you can see. I think on this particular, if I don't catch it on this video, I'll just drop the point because I don't know where exactly it is. No, it's not. All right, I'll drop that point. But you're right. The blades, the turbine blades, do weird stuff. So Miles has just joined. I'm just going to take the mic off you a sec, Arwen. Is that okay?
No.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready because I want to show something that Miles has claimed, but didn't claim back then, which I find manifestly absurd, if you want for a better phrase.
Manifestly absurd. That's it. Absolutely. Manifestly absurd. It's absurd. It's
What
absurd.
do you know? Can I
manifestly
carry
absurd.
on? Are you finished with your points? Because I don't want to step on your toes, but I do want to say something.
How you doing, Renty? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yeah?
Okay, we've only got a few minutes left because I'm going to break.
Oh,
through
right,
this.
okay.
Oakley, sorry,
Just
just
a few minutes
in
left. Just a
relation
few
to
minutes
the-
left. That's all. A few minutes left.
to the turbine blades. What are you talking about in relation to the blades do some weird shit because they are designed to flex, especially at the tips of the blades, just like a helicopter blade.
Right, hang on. Let's deal. We need to deal with the blades another time. I want to deal with Miles coming in and outbursting that he did have evidence of the tide, because the blades is something else that can take a whole conversation. And the point I want to make is only a minute or two. In Miles's video, Earth-shaped tourist Saint Bees episode 1, Miles shows absolutely no evidence anywhere in this video what the tide was. Okay. Now he's popped up claiming that he's got evidence of where the tide was. Now, this is his actual video, and this is the actual footage. Now, aside from the fact that he claims this is the curvature of the Earth, there is no evidence in the video anywhere of what to help us with what the tide was. Now, this doesn't help us because he doesn't show it in the context. So let's just speed this up so it's a bit faster. Now, we're looking for what the tide was relative to his position at the time.
I don't see any helicopters in this. There's no
Gary,
helicopters
can you
here.
please stop interrupting?
I don't see any.
Gary.
So we're trying to see what the tide is relative to his recording position, because it's his height above the tide where he is that's the issue. Not the tide at the peninsula of land where these houses are that are meant to be behind the curve of the Earth, but he didn't think about that at the time. We're trying to see the evidence to support where the actual tide was, and there is none. There is none whatsoever. So Miles has just burst in now, 2 seconds, and said, there's the evidence of where the tide was. And he didn't present that in the video. Had he have done that in the video, it would have been generally considered to be more acceptable if he'd have showed it. But he didn't. And now he's telling us at that time that the video was recorded, the tide is where he's just told us. No, Miles, we've got to reject that evidence because you can't prove it's contemporaneous with what you actually recorded at the time. You can't add it in afterwards and claim that it's real. It's more evidence that you're faking it, to be honest with you, because you should have done this at the time. You know the score. You know that you've got to show where you were, and you've got to show that water level. And you didn't do it. So you burst in right now telling us that.
For the last, 3 weeks, and he's had it all along, so he could have just presented that.
No, he hasn't had it, Ranty.
It would have all been.
He hasn't had it. He hasn't had it. I'm going to correct you there. He hasn't had it. He's presented it as real, but he's never had it in the first place, because there's no way that Miles would negligently or recklessly forget to include that. He's literally passing it off as though that's where the tide was. He's talking nonsense. He's trying to. It's damage mitigation and nothing more. You're lying, Miles.
And with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.